What's interesting about this war is that, there's new things that are always, I find it interesting. I'll give you my 2 cents on. There's new things that are always discovered in war that are, new things that are always made and discovered in war that nobody ever thought before the war would start. And there's 3 things that I've noticed that Putin did not calculate.
Okay.
One is the fact that there would be such severe economic sanctions, and the sanctions would be digging in very, very deep into the regular Russian population to the point now where, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, there's no credit cards anymore in Russia.
It. Yeah.
They blocked them. We're now at the point where we're not going to buy their oil anymore.
Right.
We're now at the point where we have blocked all of their banking outside of Russia. Basically, that nobody thought that this collective sanctions is literally like a nuclear bomb went off in Russia.
And
their stock market hasn't opened yet since they started the war, because their stock market opened, all of their stocks would be zero.
So you don't think that he thought about this?
I don't think he realized to the extent.
I mean, there's got to be some kind of consequence.
Because he invaded Crimea in 2014, and the world said, we're going to give you sanctions. And you know what? Putin said? We've lived through your sanctions before. We'll live through them again. So he didn't
Real
expect.
cocky with it.
He did not expect to the level and extent. The scary part is that if you bankrupt Russia so much, you bankrupt them to the point where they don't have food, they don't have money. A caged or a caged animal, or an animal that's backed into the corner with nowhere to go, could lash out.
That's what I was saying. I was afraid that he was going to do it. They could lash out with a
nuclear weapon. Who knows?
Remember, that's what
It's very scary. Apple. Think about Russia spans 11 time zones. Boeing and Airbus, 3/4 of their airplanes that fly in Russia, 75% of every plane in Russia is either made by Boeing or made by Airbus. Boeing, the U.S. airplane company, Airbus, the European airplane company. They refuse to service their planes. They refuse to give parts to their planes. Those planes will not be able to take off in another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
How in the world people living in a country that spans 11 time zones will get from one part to the other? You can't. The entire Russian aviation industry is going to collapse. Look at TikTok is no longer in Russia because Putin said, by the way, if I was in Russia right now, the next sentence I'm going to say would put me in jail for 15 years.
Wow. What?
You can't say Russia started a war with the Ukraine.
Wow.
15 years in jail.
Are you serious?
Russia started a war with Ukraine. Luckily, I'm in New York.
Right.
Okay.
And they can't come for you.
They can't come for me. Now, I don't know if I could ever go back to Russia anymore after that.
I don't know if you want to.
I don't know. But that's 15 years in jail. So the people on TikTok say, we don't want to be on a platform where somebody says that. Then they're going to say the executives knew. So they shut down. So TikTok is no longer. You can't do a live video on TikTok. You can't post a TikTok video from Russia. You can only watch.
Wow.
Facebook closed down. Okay. Think about Apple. You can't buy an Apple product in Russia anymore. The combined economic, to the point where we talked about last week, where they banned cats. They banned the Paralympians.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing. When you think about the 3 things, the economic nuclear bomb that the European community and America and Canada, Japan and Australia put against Russia. And by the way, Russia, although a superpower, it's not the largest economy in the world. It has an economy equivalent to Italy. All right. So, it's not like they're the biggest economy in the world. The second thing, which I find very interesting about, you never thought before, is that this collective like the whole world canceled
Russia. Yeah.
You know, like we're like, oh, let's
cancel culture.
You know, cancel culture.
Yeah.
Putin did not get cancel culture.
Yeah, he didn't know about
because
that.
he's been in a bunker because of COVID for the last 2 years. He didn't see all the people who got canceled.
Right.
But you know who got canceled now? Putin and the entire country of Russia has been canceled. They canceled Russian cats. They canceled the Paralympics. They have, you know, this collective, and you can't stop it. You can't make peace.
No.
You can't make peace with cancel culture. Who is Putin going to sit down at the peace table with about cancel culture? You can't. Anonymous, you know, these hackers, they're going after Putin now. How do you stop that?
You don't.
You can't. Okay? How do you stop this 16-year-old kid in Florida who's, you know what I'm talking about, who's listing all the yachts all over the place?
Yeah.
You can't. So Putin did not get cancel culture. He never thought in a million years Russia was going to be canceled. You can't come back from that.
You can't come back from that.
Besides the sanctions that the European Union and the United States and Australia and Japan are giving to Russia, you have this cancel culture, which adds a whole other layer of economic pain. Never thought in a million years. And the last thing, you know, so things get invented during a war that you never thought would ever happen. And the last thing that I see, at least from my opinion, of what's happened in the last 10 days that Putin never thought would happen, is that outside of China, Iran, and Syria and Belarus, the entire world has united around the idea that you cannot invade another country because you want more land.
Right.
You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We are not in the 18th or 17th century.
Yeah.
We are in 2022. And outside of China, Belarus, Iran, and Syria, by the way, India is...
What are they, on the fence?
They're on the fence.
Oh, wow.
UAE is on the fence. Some countries are on the fence because they got to deal with Russia in their neck of the woods. But for the most part, the entire world has united around the fact that you can't do this.
Right.
And NATO, which a year ago, when President Pumpkin was the president, we didn't even know if NATO was going to exist anymore. NATO is stronger now than ever. We didn't know if the United States and the European Union would ever be friends again. Our relationships are stronger now than ever, and Putin never would have thought of that in a million years.
Right.
So that's what I see from all of this. The game changer is China.
Yeah.
You know, if China says to Putin one day, and I don't know when this is going to be.
Do you think it would happen?
Well, China's in a precarious situation, okay? They are adversaries against the United States, okay? So they don't want to see the United States or European Union win anything, okay? They made a deal. China made a deal with the people of China, the Chinese Communist government. There's no real deal, but this is the deal. You get us, we stay in power, we are a dictatorship, and we're going to stay in power and be a dictatorship because this is the best way to run a government and make everybody's lives economically better. So that's the deal they made in China. Okay, we're going to take everyone out of poverty, and the greatest way to take everyone out of poverty, and you see it now, China's a lot of rich Chinese all over the world, a lot of middle-class Chinese. We're going to take you all out of poverty, and we're going to be an economic powerhouse. We are going to be the #1 economic power in the world.
I mean, it's a pretty good deal.
It's a pretty good deal if you want to live, but in return, you get a dictatorship, no free press, you can't protest, you don't have your rights.
Wow.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
And people in China, they say, you know what? I was walking around in flip-flops in rice paddies, and now I'm living in a multi-million-dollar condominium. They're like, we'll take that deal.
Right.
Now China.
So that's why that's behind Russia.
Well, they're behind Russia because they're in competition with the United States.
With the United States, yeah.
But you know what would happen, and this is way down the line, is if all these economic sanctions kick in, guess what's going to happen to China?
What?
Their economy is going to suffer too.
They're going to get the cancel culture as
well?
well?
I don't know if they're going to get cancel culture, but their economy is going to suffer. Our economy is going to suffer. They're not in the business of reducing their gross national product. They want to increase their gross national product. They want to beat the United States and the European Union economically and become the most powerful country in the world economically, which is different than what Putin wants to do. He wants to become the most powerful country in the world because he's got a bomb.
Right.
So this doesn't help the cause for China. So if their economy gets battered enough, they may say to Putin, hey, pull out, let's make a deal and end these sanctions. And then who does Putin have on his side? Nobody at that point.
Right.
The only reason that Putin can continue is because he's got China on his side.
Yeah, for sure.
China switches sides.
That's it.
That's it.
Oof.
So that's my take on everything. We'll talk more about Ukraine tomorrow. Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.